Deep beneath the crushing darkness of our planet's most remote ocean trenches, something impossible is happening. Marine biologists have discovered zones where the very laws of life and death break down completely. Not because of pressure that could flatten a skyscraper in seconds, not because of temperatures that would freeze your blood solid, but because of something far more terrifying that's turning vast stretches of the ocean floor into aquatic graveyards where time itself seems to stop. What makes these underwater death zones truly nightmarish is that the ocean itself becomes liquid poison. Picture this. You're 8,000 meters down in the hadal zone, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. At this crushing depth, oxygen doesn't just become rare, it vanishes entirely. The water transforms into something so toxic that even the toughest bacteria on Earth, organisms that survived every mass extinction for billions of years, simply die on contact. We're talking about microbes that feast on volcanic chemicals, that thrive in boiling acid, that laugh at radiation that would kill us instantly. Yet down here, they just cease. The killer? Hydrogen sulfide gas seeping from cracks in the ocean floor like toxic breath from hell itself. This poisonous compound creates vast underwater lakes of death within the ocean itself. Imagine the Statue of Liberty completely submerged in this liquid nightmare. That's how deep these poison pools stretch, layer upon layer of water so contaminated that touching it means instant death for any living thing. When deep-sea submersibles first descended into places like the Peru-Chile Trench, their cameras captured something that made hardened marine scientists go pale. At exactly 8,000 meters, there's a visible line in the water. Above it, weird tube worms and bacterial mats cling to life around underwater hot springs. Below it, nothing. Absolute biological emptiness stretching into the abyss. The transition zone spans less than a football field, yet it marks the boundary between our world and something that shouldn't exist on any living planet. But here's what kept those scientists awake at night. This underwater wasteland isn't really empty. Something else lives in that poison, something that breaks every rule of biology we thought we understood. What researchers found preserved in these toxic depths would haunt your nightmares forever. Floating in those hydrogen sulfide death pools are perfectly intact whale carcasses from over 4,000 years ago. Not fossilized, not decomposed, perfectly preserved down to individual whiskers, like ancient specimens suspended in the world's most horrifying aquarium. The same toxic chemistry that kills everything also prevents decay, creating an underwater morgue stretching across thousands of square miles. I'm talking about giant squid tentacles that should have rotted away millennia ago, still soft and flexible. Whale blubber so perfectly preserved that robotic probes could slice off tissue samples like it died yesterday. Carbon dating revealed one whale carcass died during the Bronze Age, yet its flesh was still pink and pliable after 4,000 years underwater. But here's where this story becomes truly terrifying. These death zones are growing. These toxic pools that used to stay locked at 8,000 meters, they're rising. What was once contained at the ocean's basement now reaches 7,800 meters in some areas. That might not sound like much, but in the deep ocean, 200 meters might as well be the difference between safety and oblivion. Climate change isn't just melting ice caps. It's creating oxygen-starved dead zones that suffocate marine life from the bottom up. We're watching the ocean's basement slowly fill with liquid death, rising like an invisible tide through the depths. If these zones continue expanding at their current rate, entire ecosystems that have thrived unchanged for millions of years could be wiped out within decades. Imagine if poison gas was slowly filling your house from the basement up, and you'll understand what's happening to our planet's deepest waters. Yet what's even more disturbing than this rising tide of death is what's learned to survive at its very edge. The creatures living at the boundary of this underwater hell have evolved into something that defies every law of nature. Meet the hadal snailfish, ghostly, transparent predators that patrol the 7,900 meter mark like sentinels guarding the gates of the abyss. These living nightmares have no scales, no air bladders, and bodies so gelatinous they would instantly dissolve if brought to the surface. Yet somehow they thrive under pressure that would crush a nuclear submarine like a tin can. Their secret? They've evolved blood that functions without oxygen. Instead of normal hemoglobin, these fish have developed completely alien proteins that work in near-toxic conditions. It's like biological scuba gear written into their DNA over millions of years. But here's the mind-bending part. Japanese researchers have filmed these snailfish making suicide runs into the poison zones to feed. They dart into the toxic water, grab chunks of preserved flesh from ancient carcasses, then race back to safety, all within minutes. It's like watching deep-sea vampires feeding on 4,000-year-old corpses. These fish can hold their breath in liquid poison longer than whales can hold theirs in normal water. Their metabolism essentially shuts down, entering a death-like state that lets them survive where nothing else can. They exist in the space between life and death, evolution's answer to the impossible. But the snailfish aren't the strangest inhabitants of this aquatic purgatory. Something far more alien lurks in the deepest trenches, something that challenges our very definition of what it means to be alive. The most bone-chilling discovery came when scientists realized these toxic zones aren't natural phenomena. They're scars from an ancient catastrophe that nearly destroyed all life on Earth. Core samples from the deepest ocean trenches revealed the horrifying truth. The hydrogen sulfide isn't seeping from normal underwater volcanoes. It's bleeding from massive underground chambers created by the same asteroid that killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. These impact wounds in Earth's crust became sealed tombs, filled with rotting organic matter from the mass extinction. Picture this nightmare. When that space rock slammed into our planet, it didn't just devastate the surface, it punched holes through the ocean floor, creating buried chambers that became mass graves for countless extinct species. For 65 million years, those chambers have been sealed pressure cookers, slowly fermenting death in airless darkness. Now those ancient tombs are cracking open. Tectonic shifts are splitting the impact sites, releasing concentrated death that's been rotting since the age of dinosaurs. We're literally breathing the chemical ghosts of extinct creatures every time these toxic plumes reach the surface during deep ocean upwelling events. But here's what made hardened geologists question their sanity. When they drilled into those chambers, they found something alive inside. Microscopic organisms unlike anything in our scientific databases. Creatures so alien that researchers debate whether they're even truly living or some form of animated biofilm. These things have been growing in absolute darkness, feeding on decay for 65 million years. They represent life that evolved completely separately from everything else on Earth, in conditions that would sterilize a surgical instrument. But the discovery that shattered every assumption about life on our planet was what these ancient organisms have been building in the darkness. What they discovered growing in those prehistoric burial chambers defies every law of biology ever written. Using penetrating sonar that can map through solid rock, researchers found massive crystalline structures built by those ancient organisms over millions of years. These biocrystalline formations pulse with eerie bioluminescent patterns visible through solid stone, creating an alien light show miles beneath the ocean floor. The structures are absolutely massive. Imagine alien coral reefs the size of Manhattan, but made of living crystal that's been growing uninterrupted since before mammals existed. Each formation contains billions of the ancient organisms, working together like a vast colonial intelligence that's been planning something for 65 million years. But here's where this story becomes genuinely terrifying. These formations are generating electromagnetic fields so powerful they can be detected through miles of solid rock. It's not random biological noise. Something down there is communicating using frequencies that travel through Earth's crust like a planetary nervous system. The patterns are so complex that our most advanced AI systems can't decode them. Whatever language these organisms speak, it operates on principles we don't understand. Even more disturbing, these signals aren't just random chatter. They're responding to changes on the surface. Every major earthquake, every volcanic eruption, every deep-sea mining operation triggers immediate changes in the electromagnetic patterns. It's like something ancient and intelligent is monitoring our planet's health with surgical precision. Temperature readings from the biocrystalline structures show they're generating enough heat to melt lead while surrounded by near-freezing water. This incredible energy source has remained hidden from human science until now. But when researchers finally decoded what these signals actually mean, the truth left them speechless with horror. After months of analysis, the research team finally cracked the electromagnetic code. The signals aren't random biological chatter. They're a countdown that's been running for 65 million years. These ancient organisms aren't just surviving in those impact chambers, they're waiting. This prehistoric intelligence has been monitoring surface conditions through seismic vibrations, chemical changes, and electromagnetic fluctuations. It knows about every species extinction, every climate shift, every major geological event in Earth's history. The countdown accelerated dramatically in the past 200 years, coinciding exactly with human industrialization. Every coal plant, every oil spill, every degree of global warming triggers faster pulse rates from the depths. This organism is tracking our planet's deteriorating health with terrifying precision. But here's what transforms this discovery from fascinating to absolutely horrifying.
Identical electromagnetic signatures have been detected beneath impact sites worldwide. Chicxulub Crater in Mexico, Vredefort in South Africa, Sudbury Basin in Canada. We're looking at a global network of ancient intelligence that's been dormant for millions of years. Recent deep-sea mining operations have accidentally damaged several chamber walls, causing massive spikes in signal activity. Something that's been sleeping since before humans existed is now stirring. The question isn't whether it will emerge, it's what will happen when it does. Analysis of the most recent signal burst revealed something that left the entire research team in stunned silence. A perfect mathematical sequence that could only be created intentionally. This 65-million-year-old intelligence isn't just alive, it's trying to communicate with us. And what it's saying will change everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. Note, while based on real scientific principles about deep-sea environments and extremophile organisms, this narrative represents speculative fiction and should not be considered factual scientific reporting. What we've uncovered here goes beyond science fiction. We're potentially dealing with Earth's oldest intelligence, one that witnessed the rise and fall of the dinosaurs and now watches as humanity reshapes the planet. What does it know about past extinctions that we don't? What is it planning for our future? But here's the revelation that will steal your sleep. When researchers finally decoded that mathematical sequence, it wasn't just communication, it was coordinates. Precise GPS locations pointing to 13 spots around the globe where these ancient chambers are preparing to breach the surface simultaneously. According to the countdown embedded in their signals, it's happening in less than 18 months. The most terrifying part? 3 of those coordinates point directly beneath major coastal cities. Whatever's been sleeping in those deep-sea tombs for 65 million years isn't just waking up, it's preparing for contact. And based on the mathematical precision of their timing, they've been planning this moment since before humans even existed. Disclaimer: this represents speculative fiction based on real deep-sea science. While the underlying principles about ocean chemistry and extremophile organisms are factual, the specific events described are fictional storytelling. Want to see the classified footage of what happened when researchers deliberately breached the first chamber wall last month? The emergency protocols world governments are quietly implementing right now? Hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Next week's video contains leaked recordings of what these ancient organisms actually said when scientists attempted first contact, and why every marine biologist who heard it immediately requested transfer to landlocked facilities. Trust me, once you hear their response to humanity's greeting from the abyss, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. The countdown is ticking, and we need to understand what's coming before those chambers open and change our world forever.